girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I got the girls with their nails done. Girls with their
Yeah.
5-1.
Yeah.
Job,
Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah.
5-1.
Yeah. Versus baby has returned. What is going on? It is your boy Preston, Phat Samurai Guy, back with a plethora of badass and one smartass special guests here in the panel. Yes, it's good to be back. It has been a year, believe it or not, since the last Versus episode.
Look
But
how
we
long
are
my
back.
beard has gotten.
Yes, mine too. I've gotten grayer. Yes. But yeah, we are back, baby, and we have two titans of action films to talk over and have a friendly, fun debate. But before we get started, baby, let's see who we got up in the heezy. We got Eric, the Asian movie enthusiast. Welcome back, brother.
Good evening. Nice to be here.
Yeah, and here he is, stuntman, martial artist, filmmaker, director, Alex Chung. Welcome back.
What's up, everyone?
He is a bad man. That's right. And oh, the action elite. That's right. The president himself. Owen, welcome back.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm loving that JCVD cap you got rocking there, man.
Oh, yeah. This is like my uniform.
I love that. And the first time on Versus, at least, we had a fun time reviewing some films back in the day. The fanatical one. What's going on, Johnny? Welcome back.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, loving the background. That's right. There we go. The card on the back on the right there, is that a spoiler?
No. That's the big box.
We'll get to that a little bit later. And first time on Versus, he's a regular here on the channel. Director Billy Hansen. Good to have you back, brother.
What's happening?
Yeah, man. Welcome. Make sure you guys check out his psychological horror thriller, Bone Cold. Make sure you guys check that out. Released by the almighty Go USA. So if you guys have not seen it, check it out. It's some good stuff. And here he is, the man of the hour, the man with the power, Kung Fu Santa, Rick Myers. Welcome back, brother. Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
Yes. And I know some people are in the chat are asking, why these two films? Well, the reason Samurai Guy picked these two is I believe that these two films pushed their franchises forward with world building, stunts. They both had innovative martial arts and action set pieces. And we like to have fun here. And we always like to, once in a while, we'll pick something recent that's really made an impact in a way, for better or for worse. It depends on if you like the movie or not. And we like to have it go up against something classic. Like I believe one of our verses we've done in the past was we did Yip Man versus the Prodigal Son. I believe we did that. So we like to have fun here on the channel. And these, I believe these are two great picks. But let's see who we got to say hello to the chat. There we go. Imran saying, oh shit, this is a good matchup. Thank you, Imran. There we go. Cheekster saying hi. Michael is excited. There he is. Shout out to Anubis, who will show up a little bit later. That's right. Special guest vid vote. Good to see you, brother. Yeah, and shout out to the ones that couldn't make it tonight. Eric, 100% action. Everyone is excited. There he is, stuntman martial artist Javon Wallace in the house, throwing it up. Psych Long, Jet Tiger. Yeah, he's excited because Versus is back, baby. Yeah, Severio saying, what's going on, Owen?
Hey,
There we
Severio.
go.
Right.
Multi-gun man representing Canada. How you doing over there, brother? All right, and Justin's been looking forward to this one. So yeah, let's go ahead and kick it off. And reminding everybody in chat, this will be spoilers. It's insane that it's over 10 years. The Raid 2 is that old now. It's ridiculous. This is getting ridiculous now, Rick. Like you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
The beards are growing. But yeah, if you guys enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on all the good stuff. We're almost at 30,000 subs. Help get us there, baby. All right, I'm going to kick it off with the plot synopsis for those who have not seen the Raid 2. Here we go. Only a short time after the first raid, Rama goes undercover with the thugs of Jakarta and plans to bring down the syndicate and uncover the corruption within his police force. Directed by the one and only Gareth Evans. Make sure you guys check out my interview with Jude Poyer recently. It's an epic interview, and he talks about his wonderful time working with Gareth. But this, I mean, you know who's in this. Iko Uwais, Yayan Ruhan, Oka Antara's in this, Julia Stell. I mean, we have Kazuki Kitamura in here. Zach Lee, White Boy Bobby. That's right, from The Night Comes For Us. Just so much talent. And I'm going to briefly talk about my experience seeing this in the theater. Blew me away. I remember after watching the kitchen fight, the audience was quiet. And then they were quiet during the kitchen fight. And when it was done, me as well as the rest of the audience, you can hear all of us go, all like gasped, and we had to take a breath because we were like, "Holy shit, what an amazing fight sequence!" And we were expecting it to keep going. It was almost like They Live, a violent version of They Live fight with Roddy Piper. It just kept going. Like, as soon as, okay, it's over now. No, it's going to keep going. Except we weren't laughing in the Raid 2 with that fight. Having fun with that, but it was just a phenomenal experience. It scratched the itch. It gave me the gore and violence that I crave. You know, I want to see the hook go in the skin and rip it. Let's go. The cartoon sequence was amazing, and there's really no negatives. The only nitpick I have is the very first time I watched it. It took a while for me to soak in the entire story. For a few moments here and there, I was confused, but then when I watched it again on Blu-ray, I understood the story a lot more, and I love the movie even more so. And I think we gave the movie an A+, or 5 stars back in the day when we were doing numbers. But yeah, I love this movie. This is controversial. I love this movie just as much as the first Raid. I think they are equal. But if you put a gun to my head and I had to choose, I'd pick the Raid, obviously. But I love them both equally. And Gareth himself said, you know, I don't want to. Why would I make the same movie again? You know what I mean? Why would I do this all over again? Right? What's next? Iko Uwais is going to be at the airport, and it's going to be like hour 2. There's going to be terrorists showing up. I mean, he wanted to do something different. In this film, what I love about it is that it is different, and it still gives you the action you crave, and it has a little bit of Godfather vibes. It's a straight up gangster flick, if you want to look at it that way. So I love the Raid 2. Electric Boogaloo, and that's it. All right, we will go to Eric. Eric, thoughts on the Raid 2? What'd you like and what you didn't like about it?
Well, I guess I'll start by saying my mindset going into the film. You know, so I first rumors about this film were that it was going to be like the Raid 2, but in a prison or something like that, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. But thankfully, they like expanded the story and made it bigger. But the other questions I had is the cast list. When I was looking at the cast list going into this film, I was like, this can't be the Raid 1 2.0, because you got actors here from Japan who are known as fairly dramatic actors. I mean, Kitamura's been in some action flicks, obviously, and some of these other guys too. But, you know, when you're thinking about Ryuhei Matsuda and stuff like that, I'm thinking other types of films. And then the big question for me was Julia Stell, because at this point, I'd only seen her in horror movies. So I was I'm like, wow, really? Julia Stell in the Raid 2? And I was obviously like very pleasantly surprised. And I actually became an even bigger fan of hers after seeing her in this. So that was like my mindset going in. And after coming out of the theater, I saw this in New York City on opening night because I happened to be in the area working. And when I walked out of the theater, guys were pairing off and going through the moves from the movie, trying to redo the moves. Oh no, he grabbed him like this and he did this. So I'll always remember that experience. But in terms of the film itself, I mean, there's just so much to talk about. Just a few quick things. They end the film with the best action scene, in my opinion, which is always nice when you get that crescendo, you know?
Yes.
And also, I really like the side characters in this movie, like all the supporting cast and characters in this. I always like... with movies like this, I describe them as almost like pieces on a chessboard, and you're wondering how it's going to play out, like who's going to fight who's going to take out who, and that always makes it really interesting. And then the final observation I think I would make in terms of positives is that there's a lot of little details in this movie. And one is related to this Bejo character, who's almost like the Littlefinger of the story, not to do a Game of Thrones reference on you. But the director, if you pay attention, whenever his influence is felt, things get colder. Like at the beginning of the movie, like when he kills the brother's like shaking, even though he's outside and like, hotter weather. When Ucho gets the phone call at the club, you can see his breath. When the big scene with Mad Dog 2.0, you could call him, it's snowing outside, so it's all these little details. I really like that. The hammer girl drinking or baseball bat boy drinking milk at the bar and stuff like that. So I really liked how they really went into the details and this put a lot of effort into the non-action stuff. Now, in terms of flaws or criticisms, first time I saw the movie, I thought it was maybe a little too long in terms of runtime. Like, for example, the one scene at the at the bar where Ucho just kind of loses his mind and starts yelling at the girls and stuff. I was like, God, could they have cut that out? But when I look at it, it's character development there. Mm-hmm. So I can't really complain about much in this movie. So I love this flick.
Nice. Eric Kitamura, wasn't he in Oka? Weren't they in Killers? The Killers?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You guys have got to see The Killers. The Killers is ridiculously underrated. You got to see that, man. That was good. Have you seen The Killers, The Fanatical Dragon?
Yes.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
That was great, man. Alex, you seen The Killers?
I have not.
Oh, it's right. It's a little bit of that horror, man. It's horror.
Yeah,
man. Horror crime.
Straight horror, like psychological horror.
Yeah, man.
Low budget, really inventive.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Alex, you are next, my friend.
All right. Well, it's going to be hard not to repeat a lot of what Eric said because I could just hear his words coming. I mean, my words coming out of his mouth. But I too loved the original. I thought it was great and was really looking forward to the second one. I was happy to see that they were not only expanding the story, but also kind of switching genres. You have the Raid is kind of is it like a reverse siege movie? I don't know if there's an actual term for it. I don't know. But this being a kind of a crime saga, and it really worked. I don't think I've ever seen a film kind of combining these two genres where you have you have a crime film like Heat, which has one excellent action scene, but it's mostly crime drama sort of thing. And then you have martial arts extravaganza with some gunplay and car chases like in the Raid 2 mixed in with that at like a high quantity and quality, which I never see. Usually it's just an action movie with a thin plot and that's it. So it was cool to see like a movie. I think not since like SPL have I seen something that was as solid of a movie as an action movie. I will say though, at the risk of sounding like, I don't know if this is the martial arts cinema equivalent of being a snob, but because I am going to approach this from like a martial arts and slash action filmmaking background. I thought it was a great action film, especially for this day and age. Like you said, really pushed the genre forward, but it absolutely gets crushed by like something like Dragons Forever. But that's just in terms of like the precision of not the choreography, the execution, the editing, cinematography, everything,
Well, that's why it's called the Golden Age.
Yeah.
The classic stuff.
To be fair,
love that stuff.
Yeah. To be fair, it is a different style, right? You have Indonesian silat integrated, and that is captured cinematically very differently, and it's going to look very different. It's kind of like when Ong Bak came out. So, for what it is excellent. The action scene. I have nothing bad to say about it. And if I do, it's so minor that I won't remember it. So not even worth mentioning. I think all the action worked really great. I think all the action helped tell the story. And the end fight is actually not just the end fight. I love kind of like how it's kind of crescendos, Samurai, me. I love a good meaty finale.
Yeah.
I like multiple
big and meaty.
Yeah. I like it to ramp up. Like I think one moment in the theater where I made a lot of noise was when Iko just took out a bunch of the thugs in the warehouse, and then he moves into the hallway to fight both Hammer Girl and Baseball Bat Man or Boy, and I was like, oh, he's gonna fight them both at the same time. Because you look at that montage, like these are individually like lethal opponents, and I'm like, oh, this is oh my god, this is, and that's not even the end fight. And then the end fight, it's a good. I love a good one-on-one unarmed. I mean, for the most part, it was unarmed until he started pulling those blades out. But it's I don't see that as often these days, and I will reference this in the next movie we talk about.
Okay.
John Wick 4. It's not like that's a spoiler.
Yeah.
But that definitely kind of sealed the deal for me, and it didn't. The ending didn't overstay its welcome. It kind of ended on a high note and kind of kept you wanting more. But all at the same time, because it's a long movie, you're very satisfied. No, amazing action film, deserving of all the praise, in my opinion. And I loved it as well.
Yeah, that end fight. I love Chep's reaction here when like when he starts to hit Eco, and Eco like responds and blocks it, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna have some fun." Well, all right, this is gonna be great.
Can I add to that? Like, that's part of why it's so great. Not only is the fight itself great, but it's those moments in between choreography, very much like Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris in Way of the Dragon, or Jackie Chan and Benny the Jet in Wheels on Meals. It's the in between. It's the storytelling and the performance. Like, there's so much character, especially that villain who doesn't say a single word, but there's so much personality.
Yeah, well said. Well said. All right, Johnny. Here's Johnny. The floor is yours.
Saw the first one, loved the first one, and controversially loved the second one even more. I think for me, it's
look at that,
fully a masterpiece. I mean, I think the first one, all the tension was in the environment because of the fact that they were in such a constrained space, and the first one's amazing, absolutely amazing. But the second one, I think, on every single level, they've kind of upped their game so much, and the fact that the world's been expanded out, so we see so many different locations. I thought there was a lot more variety to the action that we see. Certain sections in it, the plotting and the pacing is just so good, so it never overwhelms you with action, which that is a bit of foreshadowing for where we'll get to eventually. I think all action without any stakes or without kind of the story backing it up, and it can start becoming a little bit tiresome. And the balance between the drama and the action that you get in the second Raid movie, I think, is about perfect for me. And the expanded cast, I think you saw glimpses of the kind of interesting alternate characters in the first Raid movie, but really he had the time and the space. I mean, everything they do with Jahan's character in the second one, even though he only has maybe 8 minutes of screen time throughout the whole movie, he's got this whole arc with his kids that he's basically kind of doing everything for, and there's kind of tragedies there. So when you kind of see him dying in the snow, you kind of feel it. You feel sympathy for a character that you've barely spent any time with, which is no small achievement, and I think that's just one character amongst many. Even all the little supporting actors, the creepy little dude that runs that strange porn factory is so good. He's so despicably awful when you meet him, and again, he's got like 2 minutes of screen time, and straight away you kind of get his whole deal. I think the level of inventiveness that they did in that movie for so little money. I mean, what the budget was, 4.5 million, I think.
It's insane.
4.5% of the other movie that we're going to talk about. But I think they packed so much into it. I mean, I love the car chase in it. Car chases are hard to do. And I just watched it again, building up to this, and still found the adrenaline kicking in, and kind of found that I felt kind of, each time I watch it, I get successively kind of more excited through certain bits. It never really kind of gets to a point of feeling apathy or kind of just basically setting into a point where you're not enjoying it as much as you did the first time. I think it's Gareth Evans' really his masterpiece so far. I hope Havoc does even 50% of the strength of the Raid 2, and I'll be a happy man. But yeah, for me, absolutely flawless movie.
I love how you said 50%, because that's all we need.
Yeah,
we'll still be satisfied.
I'll still be happy, man. I think he kind of gets 50% of the way there, because he doesn't have the same level of kind of precision of the cast. It's not an action, it's not a martial arts movie. It's a different sort of film. But I think I put it up there with Infernal Affairs for a great undercover cop movie.
Yeah.
It's a different sort of movie, but I get the same sort of enjoyment out of. You could take out most of the martial arts in the Raid 2, and I'd still love everything that was going on with the story. There's a sort of Shakespearean tragedy of the son basically kind of being really just co-opted into going against his father and ultimately kind of killing his dad at the behest of somebody who's just manipulating him like a puppet master right the way through him, and he kind of realizes what's happened. He's distraught. There's a tragic element to that movie that's works on so many different levels. I think we'll still be talking about it in 10 years' time.
Oh,
from
yeah.
now.
That's right. We'll do another versus.
I'll be here we'll
do another one just for fun.
Come back 3024. No, 2034.
There you go. Billy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna just pretty much echo what a lot of people have said already, but like when I first watched it, it was at home. I had heard about it from a bunch of friends. I had seen like bits of the first one, and so I bought them both at the same time, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna like these. So
Perfect.
I bought them both, and I watched them both back to back, and I had a day of people just beating the shit out of each other. I just had an absolute blast. But I remember, I mean, I feel like just about every fight in both of these movies are so iconic, and I sort of gauge with myself how much I really appreciate a movie by how much I remember what happens, like remember in detail what happens. And when I went to go watch The Raid 2 again for this, every fight scene started and I was like, oh right, yeah, this is when the bat gets stuck into his face. Or like this is when he rips her throat out with the hammer. Oh yeah, I remember every moment of the kitchen fight. Like, so I just, it's this long, exhausting, really brutal, really dark, really tragic story, but I remembered so much of it that I was like, all right, yeah, this is an awesome movie, like expertly crafted. And I just remember my heart pounding the whole time, like beginning to end. And with the first Raid, it was so claustrophobic and not repetitive, but it was so contained, obviously intentionally so. It was almost a relief to see that the second movie was just bigger, expanded, epic, this like sweeping drama. This prison fight, like, it's almost like a horror movie, because watching it the whole time, you're just kind of like, like really physically reacting to it, just broken bones and stabbings, and they don't hold anything back. And I think that's one of the things that's great about both of them is they're so incredibly brutal, and they've just got a camera right there, and you're going to watch someone stab someone like several times. It's going to be really gross, really violent. You're going to see his face the whole time. Just really affecting. And I mean, I think I've seen that kitchen fight scene. I just put it on every once in a while if I need a jolt of adrenaline or something. Like, there's something incredible about.
You had this face when you're watching the fight. You're like, yeah, well, we're watching this fight again. Let's go.
The first time I saw it, I remember thinking like a white kitchen, and this is going to be this is like the big fight of the movie. I feel like I did that to my TV. Like, okay, let's do it. And then it delivered like, so yeah, it's just impressive top to bottom. I had to like try and search for criticisms, because it's like everyone has been saying, like, I feel like any criticism, it's so minor and minute, like it doesn't matter. I think my screenwriter, if I were to access the screenwriter part of my brain, it'd be like, yeah, you can cut out some of the characters, you can cut out some of the side stuff. Do you really need the big fight with Mad Dog 2.0? But I'm like, yeah, no, I want that. I wanted that so much. That's what I loved about the sequel too, is that they brought him back as a different character. He was so iconic in the first one. Like, you can't have the Raid without him, So like, I appreciated that they did that. So yeah, man, it's not a criticism, but I will say I was exhausted at the end of the Raid too. Yeah. Like you said, in the theater, everyone like gasped, and I remember like I need to take a minute and stare at a wall for like 20 minutes. like that was a lot. But I mean, it says a lot about a movie if they can have that. If a movie can take a physical toll on you.
Yeah, no, well said. Alex, I know at some point, whenever, your crazy busy schedule, but I know we wanted to review, we wanted to do something with Jet Li's Unleashed. That just came in my head. We should do a list of Best bathroom fights in movies. Let's go. Let's do a best bathroom fights in
Oh,
movies
man.
list video. Let's do it. I'm so down. And you know Ray 2 is going to go there. All right. Mr. Action Elite. Owen,
Yeah.
thoughts?
Actually, following on from what Billy was saying, I love how this movie has this sort of, there's a sense of tension and threat to the violence in it, whereas we'll get into John Wick, where it can be maybe seen as a bit video gamey, where it's just wave and wave and wave after bad guys. But this one, every punch, stab, kick, it's scary, and you feel that there's a genuine sense of threat behind all of it. And where the first movie had like the contained action, I think the tension here is he going to get caught? Is he going to get found out? And there's just that extra, it's a different sense of tension and threat this time. I agree with everybody. There's very little I would have to criticize about this. I mean, it had been a few years since I last watched it, and I just watched it the other day, and I was like, wow, I forgot how good a movie this was. And also, like, the John Wick movies really wouldn't exist without the Raid movies in terms of like the style and the violence and everything. So we know who the daddy is here, but yeah, I think this is a great movie, one of the all-time great action movies. With the first one, I like them both. Like Johnny, I really love them both, and maybe almost like this one more. I love the expansion of the characters and just the fight scenes. And although there's stuff you could maybe cut out, there isn't anything I would want to. Like, I love pretty much every minute of this movie. And I love also like the camera work and the build up before a fight scene. Just like before the bathroom fight, the camera just goes into the lock vibrating, and then you're just like feeling the tension building and building, and then the door just like explodes open. You're like, oh shit, and then it all goes so crazy. So so yeah, I agree with everyone. This is a great action movie.
All right, copy that. All right. Now, Rick, thoughts on the Raid?
Raid 2.
Raid 2. Yeah.
Yes, I saw this movie in the best possible circumstances. We had an advanced screening at the Museum of the Moving Image with both Eco and Gareth in attendance, and also discussed it afterwards. I also, hey, Lady Phat. I also was able to present both of them my book and my documentary, and get pictures with them and talk to them afterwards. And I was right. I was right in the right there in front of the screen, perfect place in the movie theater. And as I'm watching it, my smile is getting wider and wider, because I after however many decades of watching movies, I watch them as movies. I'm able to see the equipment behind. I'm seeing what's going on, and I realized what I felt Gareth was doing, and Gareth did back this up when we discussed this later, which was the reason that number 2 is, I think, a quarter to a third longer than number 1, is that he realized, and that's also the reason why Gareth is this great director. Yes, several of you said there was stuff that you could cut out, and I'm saying to you, no, you couldn't, because every single thing in here, all the people at the screening afterwards were complaining about, why was it so long? And I'm saying it had to be so long to be that effective, because if you watch, you can see Gareth attach all the action directly to character. Everything in there was for a reason, to make it more substantial. That's why I believed you felt so exhausted afterwards. I wasn't exhausted afterwards. I was exhilarated, because this guy knows exactly what he's doing. I was watching the Ong Bak movies, and I was watching the Thai movies and the Silat movies, and I was saying, how can they go further? They can't go further. I mean, you were saying, Phat, that these movies broadened their film series, and I disagree. I felt that this pretty much ended it, because no one other than Gareth could do what Gareth did. And in fact, all the subsequent martial arts movies of this kind weren't effective, because they already went as far as they could go physically,
Gotcha.
and thanks to Gareth, mentally. The other thing I wanted to say about Alex's point, Dragons Forever did not diminish this, because Dragons Forever was like the Shaw Brothers movies and like John Wick, in that all those movies take place in an enhanced reality. They're in their own individual reality. This movie is one of the closest things we've ever got to a completely realistic film. In that, as you said, when they were fighting, you're, ooh. I didn't do any of that during John Wick 4, because it's not real. It's John Wick 4 is a musical. It's a fantasy. This is reality. Even though it walks that tightrope between reality and impossibility so beautifully, but it's totally acceptable as real in its world. That's all I want from a movie, that I can believe in it while I'm watching it. And I believed in this completely. I felt the pain. I felt, again, what I want out of really great actors, and I mean, it's not actors, I mean heroes. I want to see passion, compassion, effort, and emotion. Because most action films, as you know, don't have those. Schwarzenegger, Stallone, the guns are as light as air. Mowing down thousands of people is not a problem. No emotional content in there. Here, I was involved. My mind candy and eye candy, but also Gareth had the best proponents of that style imaginable. Yes, Dragons Forever had the best guys in that kung fu style with an enhanced alternate reality kind of approach. But that's what you need to make these movies work. Because if you get somebody like the wonderful Keanu, who's not really good at kung fu, he's great at filmmaking, he's great at acting, but these guys, they deliver the way people you need. For great musicals, you need Fred Astaire, you need Gene Kelly. For great kung fu, you need Jackie Chan, you need Sammo Hung. For great silat, you need Iko. For great Thai boxing, you need Tony. And if you don't have them, it'll diminish the movie. And if you look at subsequent Thai boxing movies and subsequent silat movies, you can see don't even compare. Those are over. So in any case, this was just wonderfully substantial. I felt much better than you did, Owen, after the McDonald's. This was not McDonald's. This was.
I'm still feeling good so far.
Well, that's good.
Right.
Well, give it an hour. Give it an hour.
Hey, if you need, brother, if you need to get up and go, just
if I go into this beer, you know
good.
why.
It's fine.
Give it 10 years. But be that as it may, this movie, like you said, you watched it 10 years ago, you watched it last week or earlier today, it still is this wonderful, substantial, feeds your brain, feeds your eyes, feeds everything. So yeah, this is truly one of the greatest martial art movies ever made. This is not kung fu. This is martial arts, because it's all aggressive. There's very little mental acuity involved, just training. But also, Gareth comes to it like a filmmaking artist, in that we have the things that I really look for in a great fight, which are those pauses, which are those moments between punches and kicks and the rest of it. It's the moments of character and energy. And every single shot is used to enhance everything else. You can take this movie apart and put it back together like a jigsaw puzzle, or like a jigsaw puzzle is the best example. It'll hold together. You leave one part out, it starts to be not as effective. So yeah.
All right, copy that. Hot take, because this is Versus, baby. All right, I can't wait to hear what you guys think about. I have heard about this. I have heard from a lot of people, believe it or not, that obviously John Wick, some of the fight choreography gets criticized, right? John Wick 4. Well, I've heard a lot of people say the fight scenes in the Raid movies are too overly stylized and too overly choreographed, and they're not realistic. What do you guys have to say about that? Ha!
It's silat.
Yeah,
And it's a
I know.
movie. And basically, if you want to see a real fight, UFC,
There you
or any martial art competition, or any tournament. This is a work of art. It is not a fight.
Okay,
Yeah, real
well said.
fights.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
real fights mostly involve falling down on the ground and rolling around with each other. Like I've been in, I think, like 9 fights in my life, and like they're not glamorous and they're not cool. You're like falling around, you're like, and that's mostly what real fights are like, street fighting. And then
Yeah.
you'll try and kick and try and sort of get away from it. But these are movie fights. They're supposed to look like a dance or whatever, where it's it's make believe, but it's still realistic enough for me. I mean, real fights are just not as glamorous looking.
Ask those same people who criticize it to see whether they can just slowly copy the moves and see how long they last.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, the director he said he took 3 months for him to choreograph and video storyboard the kitchen fight alone.
There you go.
Alone.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you see how elaborate those fights are, and there are stories told within each of those fights, like decisions that they're making. This guy gets the upper hand. This guy gets the upper hand. You see, in the kitchen fight when the knives come out, you see Iko's. He's like, I'm gonna get one of those knives, and then he tries and he fails once, and they keep fighting. Then finally he gets it. And it's like, oh, awesome! Escalated to the next thing. So like storytelling within fight choreography, and on top of that, every hit looks, brutal. Like it hurts. There's one moment in the fight. I was watching the fight earlier today, and there's one moment. It's just so quick. He does this double punch to the chest, and I was like, God, that looks like it fucking hurt. And it's just one fight, one move in the middle of 1,000 moves in a row. But yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, realistic. Like, if you're arguing about like it doesn't look like a real fight, no, it doesn't. It looks like a really violent.
Yeah, never get into a real fight like that one. You wouldn't last. You wouldn't last a
2
second.
seconds. 2 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I've never been in a fight. It's a lot of pulling clothes around.
Go ahead, Johnny.
He also seems to kind of involve his camera almost like it's an extra participant in the fight. And he breaks all these rules that you're supposedly never meant to do. Like he somehow makes shaky camera work in a way that's not distracting. Doesn't become Jason Bourne. It still manages to let you see what's going on, but it's so frenetic and so involved that it kind of wraps you up as if you were kind of basically watching this kicking off in a room in front of you, and the panic that would ensue being that kind of close to the action. But yeah, absolutely amazing. And I think it's never going to be a real life scenario.
As the director of Azumi said, I'm a martial artist and the camera is my weapon. And that was the case here as well. And also another thing I would ask you to do or suggest that you do is that whenever a character does get the upper hand, they don't get it for no reason. In other words, they don't get it because the script said so. All that extra hour of character building, all the clues are in there, all the hooks are there. So when somebody gets the upper hand, it's because they did something that you recognize as them. And it's the same thing with all the other characters. Their characters are established, and they do not go outside, and they do not fight. Another one of my big problems with other action movies, they don't all fight the same. They all fight as their characters would fight. And that also adds to the emotional content. So, yes.
But yeah, no, well said, everyone. But I had to bring that up. Spark a little controversy.
Shut up.
That's what I heard. I just wanted to hear you guys' opinion.
Can I throw one more thing in there?
Go ahead.
One thing I noticed in this one, like just talking about the brutality of it, is the makeup effects are tracked through those fights so incredibly well. People take punches to the face, they're going to be bleeding. They're going to be bruised and bloodied. And like, that's something in this movie and the first one too, but more so this one, like that I noticed and I called out. It's like, oh man, the makeup effects are tracked so well through these that it does make it feel a little more realistic to me.
Yeah, copy that. All right. It sucks. It's garbage.
It doesn't have to be realistic.
Chuck Norris's sidekicks is better. All right.
It doesn't have to be realistic. It needs to be believable. And it is.
Exactly. Well, it was when I interviewed Jude and we were talking about The Prodigal Son. He said he loves Sammo Hung's action directing style because you watch the fights in Prodigal Son are so good, they're great, But he said you would never probably see a fight like that, a kung fu fight like that in real life. But he's like, this is, you got to suspend your disbelief a little bit. It's a movie, but if you still look at Sammo Hung's style, there's still intent on screen to harm your opponent. You know what I mean? So,
but also remember where Sammo came from. This is
Right.
Peking opera.
right. But in terms of it, how it looks on screen, you know, it's not a dance.
Right.
But yeah, all right. Well said, everyone, for the Raid 2 Electric Boogaloo. Let us go to John Wick Chapter 4. Quick plot synopsis. John Wick uncovers a path to defeating the High Table. But before he can earn his freedom, Wick must face off against a new enemy with powerful alliances across the globe and forces that turn old friends into foes. Directed by the extremely talented Chad Stahelski. And you know who's in here. We got Titans in here. We got the Fishburne in here. We got Clancy Brown, Ian McShane, Bill Skarsgård, Marcus Zora, Donnie Yen, Sonata, and many other legends are in here as well. All right, so this is my personal journey. Really quick. Here we go. Jude Poyer said it was best we make fight scenes to feel real. There you go. Well said, Javon. Thank you, Javon, for watching my epic interview with Jude. I appreciate that. Yeah. So this is my own personal journey with John Wick. I love these movies. You know, I can nitpick each one of them. I love all of them. When we got to 3, as much as I love 3, we can admit, I guess, I think we can admit that 3 out of all of them has the most martial arts fighting in it. If you compare it, he had the fight with the guys from the Raid. He had the fight with Mark Cassius. I'm talking about one-on-one in terms of combat. It had the most martial arts fighting out of the others.
Okay.
But I really loved Raid 3. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a high rating. I had issues with some things. But right when he got pushed off the building and he landed on the goddamn fire hydrant, I was like, what the fuck?
Fire
Like,
escape,
wait.
and then the cement.
Right.
10
And he just
stories down.
Then and he just got dragged off. Like when he got shot, I was like, oh, he's wearing a bulletproof suit. Okay, fine. But when he fell and hit the fire hydrant and the cement or whatever he landed on,
Fire escape.
I was like, oh, he's dead. That's it. That's the end. That's the end of Wick. It's over. And I was like, oh, wait, he's not dead. He's fine. You see him the next scene after that, he meets up with Fish. He's bruised a little bit, but he's fine. He's not paralyzed, at least. Like, what is happening? I started my love for the Wick franchise was dipping. I was like, oh, what? No, like, what the hell did we do here? If you watch 3 again, he gets thrown through so many shades of glass. I mean, were they trying to rival Police Story? I don't know, but he got thrown through so many glass, setups, and I'm like, all right, I'm rolling with it. It's still fun. It's awesome. I'm rolling with it. But when he got thrown off the building he lived, I was like, okay, that I have an issue with that. That really kind of tainted that for me. When 4 came around, I was like, okay, all right, fuck it. They're embracing the absurdity. They're fuck it. Like Rick, I think you even mentioned, you like look at this as terms of like Bollywood. Like it's not supposed to be realistic in a way.
Let me go next.
I know you said that before.
Let me go.
But I was like, but yeah, go ahead, and then we'll go back to me. Go ahead.
Okay, the situation is that he is dead.
I know that's your theory.
Yeah, the movie only works if he's dead, and that's because the opening line, the first thing that is said on screen is Lawrence Fishburne, and Lawrence Fishburne is quoting directly from Dante's Inferno.
Yeah,
read Dante's Inferno. That's exactly what he says, and Dante's Inferno is the story of a soul being shown through the 7 circles of hell in order to find peace. The only way that John Wick 4 works as a motion picture with any sort of reality is if that's what's happening with John Wick. John Wick was killed in number 3. And this is the story of him being brought. And if you count the number of major fight scenes, I believe there are 7.
Yeah.
This is the 7 circles of hell. And what does he find at the end? Spoiler alert, peace.
Right.
And he dies. That's
Which is
the only way this works at all.
Which
as
is an
anything
amazing
that's
theory.
Human being.
It's an amazing theory, and you
Yeah,
blew
I
my
never saw
mind.
that. Wow.
You blew my mind when you said that way back in the day.
It can't be a theory. That
Right.
is the opening quote from Dante's Inferno that Lawrence
Right.
Fishburne says.
Right. But
And
it's
he
up to
does
the
die
viewer. It's up to the viewer if they want to go with that theory or not. So before I heard your theory and you blew my mind later, Rick,
Yeah.
I went into this. I'm like, okay, they're embracing the absurdity. They're cranking it up to 11, Spinal Tap style. We're cranking it all the way up to 11. We're embracing the absurdity. It's over the top. All right, I had issues with it at the end of 3. I'm gonna embrace it now. I'm gonna
No
go
blood,
in.
no cops.
Yeah, I'm gonna go in with arms open and see if the movie entertains me. Now, my excitement level built. There was a lot of hype because Marco Zaror was announced. I was already like, oh, this is awesome. Then Scott Adkins. What was going on? Then Henry Sonata. Oh my God. Then Donnie Yen. All right, I'm losing it now. All right. I'm like, but my expectations were so high. Here's the thing. This is just my own personal experience. All right. Everyone's different here. I'm pretty sure everyone will be the opposite of me. This exceeded my expectations. I did not think Marco Zaror was going to be in the movie that much at all. I thought he was just going to have one fight and die. The more I saw Marco Zaror throughout the movie, the bigger my smile got, and I was like, "This is fucking amazing!" Oh, he's not dead. He's coming back for some more at the end. I absolutely loved it. Did I want the fight with Donnie Yen versus Henry Sonata to be longer? Of course, but I still thought it was an awesome fight. Scott Adkins, I literally thought that was his only scene. He was just going to be there and go, hey, Baba Yaga. I did not know he was going to have a fight scene. So for me personally, this was like, I was like, man, I'm really enjoying this. I was not expecting this at all. The over-the-head action one-take shot shootout was fucking mind-blowing. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that in action movie history. And it's just insane. It's insane. Now, here's the thing. Did the movie feel long to me? No. Do I agree with its flaws? Sure. Could this movie have been 2 films? Of course. Is the ending sloppy? Yes, because the director did test screenings and the audience originally hated the ending. So that's why the ending is the way it is. It's sloppy. It is sloppy. I would have preferred that, yes, John Wick is dead. This is the perfect way to end it. Let's end it. Now I'm hearing other things that he's not dead. So now that kind of taints John Wick 4's ending now. And again, I understand the criticisms. I get it. But for me personally, I enjoyed the fuck out of this movie, man. I loved it. I absolutely loved it, And it's my favorite John Wick movie out of all 4. That's right. I said it. And watch my John Wick 4 ranked video and our review. We have a lot of special guests. You'll be surprised. It's a very interesting ranking. Everyone,
we won't be surprised.
Yeah. But yeah, not everyone loves John Wick 4. I get the hate. I get it. There's some people in the comments right here said they started it, they couldn't finish it. I totally understand.
Everyone loves anything anymore.
I totally understand the opening action sequence in Japan. It's so phenomenal. It easily could have been an ending finale for any action movie. But I get it. The movie should have been 2 films. Should have been a part 1 and a part 2. I believe it would have flowed a lot better. But anyway, that's my personal preference. I had the honor of interviewing Marco Zaror here on the channel. Please watch that interview. You get to hear his behind-the-scenes creation, the hard work, the insane stunt work. These guys put their bodies on the line for this movie, which we have to respect whether you like the movie or not. You got to respect the stunt team and what they were able to do.
Let's be clear about this. Nobody's not going to like this movie.
Oh, there's people in chat that they hate it. They hate it.
Don't listen to chat.
They're the public, Rick. They're the public.
No, they're the haters of the public. Nobody on this screen, I bet you, disliked the movie. It's just a matter of whether they liked it better or worse for whatever reason.
Okay.
Like I said, this is the only way this works for me is as an action fantasy or an action musical.
Gotcha.
And as an action musical, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to hate on it.
I'll take it as an action fantasy.
That's what it is.
I'll take it.
Now you can't take it.
Now, after I watch this movie like 10 times, will I feel the same about the film after that? I've only seen it twice. We'll see how Samurai Guy feels about it. But anyway, and Rick, you had the honor to interview Marco at Comic-Con. Yeah.
Well, not only we had Marco at Comic-Con and Scott Adkins.
Yeah.
I've met Donnie Yen.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the
Rick's
set
met
of
everyone.
this. I was on the set of John Wick 4 in New York when they were filming the scenes in Grand Central Station.
Right.
So this is what it is, and as such, I'm not going to see it again because again, I want every single one of the major fight scenes to be released as a music video. because that's the way.
Yeah.
And they don't have any basis in any sort of. Oh yeah, absolutely. Shin Batman. I'm trying to find out originally, because Donnie Yen was in it. The part that Scott plays in the movie was supposed to be Sammo.
Oh,
but Sammo couldn't or wouldn't do it for whatever reason. So
that would have been awesome too. Yeah,
and put the fat suit on it.
So I love the movie. I recognize its flaws. I still love it. Eric, John Wick 4.
Yeah, to everyone watching, smash that like button.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought I'd be in the minority on this one, but I agree with almost everything you said.
Oh,
man.
shit! Oh, shit!
Yep.
This is what Versus is all about, baby. You don't know what you're going to get, baby. You don't
I'm
know.
telling you right now, this vote's going to be closer than people think, son. I'm telling you right now. Let's go.
Shit.
So going into this one, again, I would say more like the star power got me hyped up for this. I mean, with all these guys, just watching Keanu just fight Donnie, it just does something for me, And I like Bill Skarsgård and stuff. And I thought in this movie, he really he chews the scenery in this, and with his accent and everything. There's something about it. I tend to like the John Wick movies that have like the suave villains, like parts 2 and 4. You have the suave dudes who are like real uppity and up their own rear ends or whatever. I love dudes like that as villains. And then I would have to say I'm just a guy who just hold my attention and entertain me. And this movie just does it, consistently. I think that, the cinematography and the lighting in these movies has always been real solid. I think this one almost takes the cake. I mean, some of the sets they shot in and locales and stuff, it's just ridiculous. So it has a lot of eye candy to it, which I like. And, the action is there's so much of it that, like you say, Samurai Guy, it scratches the itch. You know what I mean? It does. Yeah. So when you're done with the movie, this movie is a little bit on the exhausting side, but I just enjoy watching every action set piece. And I do think they end probably with the best series. It's like a multi-tiered finale, right? Where it goes, and then it goes again, and it goes again, and you're just kind of wondering, when is this going to end? but you're at the same time, I'm like, I hope it doesn't, kind of. I want to see how far this goes. And I will say that I do enjoy the side characters in this one. Maybe, I would say that something like that tracker guy, who I'm not that even familiar with the actor. I think it's Shamir Anderson.
Yeah. So I didn't
really go in with the star power expectation for him, but I liked him by the end of the movie. He was pretty cool. And even somebody like Rina Sawayama, I thought came off all right in this. She was pretty good as well. And I do like the rope-a-dope they did at the end, little twist, where Ian McShane gets his last one-liner in to Skarsgård before he gets shot in the head. I did like that scene too. So, it's a movie that has a lot of the things that I like, despite it. I'm a runtime snob, and I really didn't have a problem with the long runtimes of either one of these movies. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say. The action is great, and I think I enjoy this probably the most out of all the John Wick movies.
And don't forget about the whole rope-a-dope thing. You can bring that back to the dog eventually getting to Marco. They had this back and forth, him and the dog eventually gets him at the end. But yeah, right in the beginning, man, as soon as this fight kicked off and Marco started moving, I was already losing it. I was like, oh my God, Marco Zoro's fighting Henry Sonata right now. This is happening. It's crazy. But anyway, I already said my piece. Alex.
Samurai, why did you put me and Eric and you all at the top of the top row?
Is this destiny? No.
Okay. I will. When we were talking about the Raid 2, I felt like I was parroting a lot of what people were saying. For this, I'm going to try not to yell because I'm going to get a little passionate.
Okay.
So the first 3 John Wick movies I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like the Raid 1 and 2 more, but as American-made action movies, again, I sound like a freaking snob, but I enjoyed them for what they were, but I wasn't blown away. So I went into the 4th one kind of almost like like it was a routine. I was like, oh, another John Wick movie's in theaters. I got to go see on the big screen, enjoy the action, appreciate what the stunt team did, and maybe talk to people about it. I was sucker punched with the most indulgent, extreme, and that I love that kind of stuff. It exceeded my expectations. To be fair, my expectations weren't that high, but I just wasn't expecting the fourth John Wick movie to freaking satisfy, my action craving as much as it did. I think because I don't think I see a lot of American Hollywood mainstream movies go for it the way they did. I think you said it the best. They just said, fuck it, which I think is the right thing to do. It's the fourth movie.
Yeah.
When you think of fourth movies, it's what are you going to do? Are you going to try to like maintain what you did in the first one? After the third one, especially, it's like, what else can you do? And they're just like, fuck it. Let's just go nuts. And who cares about logic? Because we've already abandoned it at some point in the series, and I will agree with everyone on, like, there are a lot of issues, but that's even if you call them issues, whether you go with, Rick's theory or just, you go for just shutting your brain off. A lot of things, it's a hyper reality. I look at it as a hyper reality.
It's a musical.
And it works that way because I'm here for the action. I think the characters are great. I think the world building is great. I think it's a really neat series and a really neat lore that they've established. But I'm here for the fucking. And also the other thing is the stacked cast. Like Marcus Aurora, Donnie Yen, Scott Adkins. Like you, Samurai. I wasn't expecting to see them as much as I did. I thought they would just be glorified cameos. Like, these are action guys. Look at their faces. But no, they gave them shit to do, and they paired a bunch of them off, and so I really I loved just how every action scene. Okay, so the Osaka scene is almost half an hour of the movie. It's just this, and then it feels like the finale of a movie, but it's not. And then halfway through, you've got the club scene, and which actually reminds me, the cinematography for this is gorgeous, especially during the club fight scenes plural, because there's like multiple stages of the fight, and there's multiple people. There's you've got Donnie fighting, you've got Tracker fighting. It's absurd, and the finale. I think the movie's 3 hours, and the finale starts at around 2 hours in. So you've got like a whole 50 to 60 minutes of nonstop action, and it's not just. I know I keep kind of repeating how indulgent and excessive it is, but I love it for that. Like, you've got the gun fights, the car fights, and people fights, freaking, and then the
shout out to the Warriors. We had a whole bunch of Warriors.
That was
I'm like movie. You're killing me with. I'm like, you're killing me here. Like, I can't smile anymore. But yeah, go ahead.
It's such a heavy-handed reference, but I love it, probably because I feel like the Warriors to this day is still kind of underappreciated. So that was cool to see, in the year 2023. Yeah, in the year 2023 on the big screen. I'm like, is this happening? And the Dragon's Breath scene where the camera goes up, and they do that kind of Hong Kong massacre style scene, and amazing, wonders to this at this point have been done to death. But I really thought this was well executed, and the cherry on top for me was they brought back the club music from the first movie by like Castlevania, and I was like, I love when music comes back. It doesn't happen very often, so I was like, that really pumped me up to hear that track again, because that's one of my favorite action scenes in the first one. So it was a nice kind of full circle thing. And then you have the fucking staircase scene, where at the end of it, you've got this great moment that I think everyone in the audience felt when he gets kicked all the way back down. You're just like, oh, right? And then, the filmmakers are like, you like that staircase action scene? Let's do it again with Donnie Yen. I never see movies do that. Where you rewind and like, let's watch that again. They do it for you. You get an extra action. So it really is like a fuck it. Like, there are no limits. And I think it was the right call for me, because otherwise I think I would have just been like, they would have had to do something like that to really blow me away. But still, to compare it to the Raid 2, or to kind of bring up an old point again, it's a different style, but the fight scenes, it is a particular style, especially with Keanu in his age, and just it's funny because it's meant to be kind of realistic, but also not in terms of like the hand-to-hand stuff. You got people acting kind of tired and slow and exhausted, and things get sloppy. It's not this precise. Also, hyper reality of a lot of 80s Hong Kong, where people are fighting with unlimited cardio, with perfect technique, and people block things perfectly, and fights go on longer than they would in life. So it's also hyper reality, but a different kind of hyper reality. I think if me and a bunch of martial arts action junkies got together into a room, and really critiqued it, there's a lot to pick apart. But also, I will say that, especially comparing it to the Raid 2, John Wick 4, much bigger budget. It's a big Hollywood movie. It's a big machine that moves very slow. And even when you have people like Chad, at the helm directing, it's still like a big set. And no matter how good the stunt team is and how good the action design is, there's a lot of, this is starting to sound like an industry rant, but it's a lot of broken telephone, and it's not going to be as precise, as like Samo and a room full of people, all wearing different hats. There are certain sequences, even on my first viewing at the theater, I saw like some of the stunt guys in the background, some of them missed their cue, or some of them were a little too slow or too fast. As nothing against the stunt guy. And look, I've been one of them, okay? I'm not going to tell you which shows, so you go look it up. But I've been that guy who was just like, oh, I missed my mark, and it's forever immortalized on film.
I'll tell you guys. I'm kidding.
But no, it's those errors are there, and they're just doing their best. And sometimes they don't know which take the editor is going to choose.
Right.
So it's hard to really get that perfection when you're making a movie at that scale. So you have to appreciate the scale of the stunts and the scale of the action scenes, and just kind of the ambition of it. And it was super entertaining, and like Eric said, never a dull moment.
Copy that. All right, Johnny.
I will serve.
Honest thoughts.
I will be of service. Let me say a couple of things first.
All thoughts are welcome.
I'll say a couple of things first to give myself a John Wick bulletproof suit, because I'm going to make myself a bit unpopular, I think, with what's to come. It was absolutely my favorite American movie of last year.
Oh.
I love the franchise as a whole.
All right.
It's not my favorite John Wick film.
Okay.
It works for me less than... I still think Part 3 is maybe a better movie overall. It has some of the best individual little sequences in it that we maybe have seen in the franchise. So I love the cast that they brought together. I love the Osaka sequence. Love seeing Donnie Yen going up against Haruki Sanada. I love the Dragon's Breath scene, but it feels like a montage of really great scenes rather than a completely effectively flowing movie, as well as Part 3 for me. I still think Part 3 is probably the best film, though Part 1's probably still my favorite.
Look at that.
1, 3, 2, and 4 are about an equal thing, which is, I know, not a popular opinion, but I think it was the first time that I felt the studio's presence starting to creep in, saying, make it bigger, keep it going, make it bigger, keep it going. We got to work around to a John Wick 5. And I think maybe my perspective of it's also been a bit soured by how fucking shit the Continental was, where I was so all in and so invested in this underworld. I love these phantom rooms filled with beautiful girls with tattoos working old switchboards. Love all that shit. But I felt I was hoping for a little bit more that we'd kind of get in terms of the world beneath the world. And there's a couple of bits of casting that I hated in John Wick 4. Did not like the person playing his sister in Berlin at all. That fell very short. I do think it's Scott Adkins' best acting performance that we've seen out of him. Not his best martial arts performance, but I loved everything that he did with that. But he's amazing. And I thought it's the most fun that we've seen Donnie Yen have in a movie for a long time. And I was all in for that too.
Especially in the States, especially an American movie.
Yeah. And like I say, easily head and shoulders above any other American action movie that I saw last year. But for me, compared to some of the other ones, just didn't quite get to the same thrill that I got out of 3. And not surprising that one of my favorite parts at the end of 3 was the fact that we got the guys from the Raid and Dacascos. So I think 3 I felt built to a really great crescendo, and that whole, I don't want to turn this into a talk about 3, but all the Halle Berry stuff with the dogs in 3, building into the kind of storming of the Continental in New York, which I thought was maybe as good in some ways as the Osaka sequence. It hit a little bit harder for me in terms of the lights off going through halfway. I thought it was a better sequence, and building up to that kind of crazy upper level fight against the Raid Boys and then Dacascus, I felt was maybe a slightly better conclusion to that movie than we kind of got here, where it was maybe just a bit front heavy. So Osaka was so good that it was very hard for them to kind of try and get to that level in the third act, though the Dragon's Breath sequence is maybe the best sequence that John Wick has done as a franchise, I think.
All right. Well said. Copy that. Billy.
Yeah, just to jump off a little bit what Alex and Johnny are both saying, like talking about the sort of studio nature of it. I think my expectations were middling, because I knew it was, fourth installment of a major franchise. Like, how good is it going to be? Like, how watered down? And then the runtime came out. It was like 240 or something. And I was like, oh, all right, it's going to be really watered down. It's going to be really slow, whatever. And then from the beginning, it's literally like the first shot. Well, after the little cold open with Lawrence Fishburne, the first shot is that sun, and them riding on the horses. And I remember going like, God, this is a beautiful shot. This is going on a long time. Wow, they're really milking this. And then I could tell right from that first scene, like, all right, they're gonna give you everything. And I loved it. Like, I think everyone is surprised at how much we all liked it. But I thought I was going to be in the minority there, but I really was smiling ear to ear the whole time, because I expected that, big studio movie it's just not gonna be cohesive, and it's not gonna work. It's just gonna be too much. It's gonna get crushed under its own weight. But I liked that the excesses that they had, like when all the fight scenes would go on a little too long, it was still, they were throwing all of the creativity at you, like in the Osaka scene when you've seen 1 million people die already, but then it's the daughter fighting the huge guy, you have that one-on-one fight, and she kills him by climbing up his body like a mountain. And I was like, God, that's cool, like that. And that's what I felt like it kept giving, these really clever little fights that, I shouldn't say little fights, these really clever fights that were just nonstop. And so I was just like, I had a blast the whole time. And the same as in the Raid 2, like all the fights after the first time I watched it, I remembered so many of the awesome kills, or like the awesome moves, awesome moments. And the theater that I was in, I was surprised to see how much people were laughing, and like the humor and the comedy and all.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I think that's a big part of it for me, was like the part I'm thinking of is him spinning around in the car and just shooting all the guys in the car as he's doing this. That's the one that is so goddamn funny and awesome at the same time, like, and so cool. And he's really driving that car around. And I was excited and relieved and sort of thrilled to see that the crazy budgets and the crazy talent and everything was being used to a maximum. And I mean, as far as criticisms, there are a few that I had. Like, I could tell, I walked out of that movie being like, I loved it, I don't even care. And people would be like, wow, it's so long. Yeah, I don't really care though. I had fun the whole time. I was never bored. And
it's supposed to be longer. Marco said there's a longer version.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. We did a hashtag, release the longer version.
Yeah.
We kind of put it out there, but
oh my God, that's so
up to Chad.
Yeah, but I was like, the creativity of the action scenes too, just the vision of each of the performances. Like, I was just really impressed, and I was impressed to see such a big movie be so clever, like that. However that conversation happened between like Stahelski and the studio, that I feel it had to be Stahelski going like, trust me, this is going to be cool. Like, for reasons you don't understand, this will be cool. I have to think that's how it went. Yeah, man, like there were some fight scenes. Every time I would feel like things were going on a little too long, specifically like when the nunchucks came out, like it starts to like this is about to get too long, and then he does some crazy like baseball swing with the thing that just got an uproarious laugh in the theater. So it was just a blast. Like I had a lot of fun watching it, and it's super indulgent, and like I do feel like it was everyone just had everyone had the best time and threw every idea out there, and it worked. I don't know. I feel like it really worked. I wasn't familiar with sorry, what is his name? Oh, Marcos Rohr. I didn't know who he was, and so he came out in that first Osaka scene, and when he started fighting, I was like, oh man, this guy, I hope he sticks around the whole movie. And then he was the main villain.
Yep.
Or one of the main villains.
Main minion.
Yeah. and yeah, when he got kicked down those stairs, I remember I was with my wife and we were like, oh hey, we climbed those steps. Cool. And then I realized there's gonna be a fight scene up those steps. Oh, awesome. But I remembered how exhausting it was to walk with no one trying to kill me up those steps. And then to have him kicked all the way down, it is the least realistic thing in the world, but it was so incredibly funny and so just devastating. And then Donnie Yen joins him, and hell yeah, it's awesome again. Yeah, man, that was so I loved it, and I think the fact that I didn't expect to love it really pushed my love for it even higher.
All right,
but I do love the theory that he's dead, because that makes a lot of sense, because it's like everyone you view it as it's fantasy. I mean, it just is fantasy. It exists in its own world, and that makes it so much more fun.
Yeah, exactly. Rick, I don't know if you heard Johnny when you got up, but he said the Continental sucked.
Oh, actually, I was going to say that too. So I got to go to like the premiere of the show, and they screened the first episode in like the Chinese theater, and it was really fancy, and you get to walk like into the Continental. And I don't know. I think I was next to somebody who like worked on it, because they were super amped, and I only talked to her for a minute, but it started, and pretty quickly you kind of realize like, oh, this is not going to be great. It just gets messy and droll, and I just kind of had to slink down to my seat. I'm like, oh, please don't ask me any questions after it's done. And so it ended, and I was like, I gotta get out of here, and I just ran.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a bummer.
I still haven't bothered to watch it yet, because I was interested to watch it, and then after what Rick's review of it, and then I kept seeing everyone else's like comments and reviews, it just kept going. It was nothing positive.
Yeah,
and it has me really worried for the ballerina, because Korea already released an incredible movie called The Ballerina. Nothing to do with John Wick, but
right.
Ballerina has big shoes to fill, even just matching something else with the same title. I'm really worried about how that's going to go, but we'll see.
Hey, Johnny, Versus, baby, let's do it. Both ballerina movies. Dude,
ballerina fight.
Let's go, baby. But, yeah, let's do it. Versus episode coming soon. Well said, Billy. All right, Owen.
I have a confession to make. The Continental was actually my idea, and I have the audio to prove it. I interviewed Keanu Reeves and Chad Stahelski just after the first movie came out, and I said to them, look, why don't you do a TV show? You call it The Continental, and you tell it each episode is about each of the different assassins, and then you do this invention, and then maybe Keanu Reeves shows up as like a guest. And like, that's a great idea. Let's not do that, but let's do a shitty prequel instead. Like, okay. And have a guy who doesn't look or sound anything like Ian McShane play the main character. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
Yeah. So where's my paycheck for a start? Where's my credit? Where's my idea?
Exactly.
Well, welcome to Hollywood, man.
Yeah, it was my first and last trip into Hollywood. Yeah. Anyway, so I apologize for it's my fault. I'm sorry.
It's all good, man. Hey, they didn't follow your blueprint, so
no, exactly. Yeah. But, I do love this movie. I think it's probably controversial maybe, but I think it's the most beautiful looking action movie I've ever seen. I just think you could do a screenshot of it and hang it up in your wall. I mean, there's just the colors are so vibrant, and it looks and feels sort of unlike anything really you've seen before, apart from the John Wick movies. It's that whole hyper reality to it. I do agree with Johnny, because I got my fellow Scots back here, but it's not my favorite. The first one is still my favorite because it's shorter and there's just more of a sense of threat to it. This one is just like pure video game where he just knocks down like waves and waves of villains and everything. But that's the selling point of it. It's just a lot of fun. Unlike everybody else, I hate the stair scene because I the second time I didn't mind it so much, but the first time I was in the theater and it was quiet in the cinema and he fell down the stairs and I went, oh, fuck off. I was like, I need the toilet. Let's wrap this up. I'm in my 40s. I can't do this anymore. So I'm a 90-minute action movie guy. I'm like, you should be able to tell your story in like 90 to 100 minutes. And when it goes longer than that, I'm like, eh. But for some reason, I didn't have that issue with the Raid 2. I thought that just seemed to flow better. But this one, I was glad when it was over, but I still enjoyed the majority of it. Like, I loved seeing the cast. I thought the John Wick movies ended up becoming everything the Expendables movies should have been, because I always thought the Expendables were a great concept, but never really played out in reality what we really wanted. But having like Donnie Yen, Scott Adkins, Marco Zaror, and Keanu Reeves all in a movie, all kicking ass on screen, I was like, this is great. This is the best Expendables movie we'll never see. So it has its flaws. It's too long, but there's so many great action scenes. The Dragon's Breath scene is awesome. I do love Keanu Reeves as John Wick. He doesn't say much, but it's Keanu. You just have to love him. Yeah. And actually, whenever I interviewed him, he actually walked into the hotel room and he was dressed in the John Wick suit. So he was just like, totally like him. I was like, okay, don't fangirl. He's like, it's fine. This is totally fine. So that was awesome. But I do think this is a little too long, but I do enjoy it. Gorgeous looking. Love the cast and the action scenes. So that's all I'll say for now.
All right.
So now, first of all, I get to comment on each of your stuff. First of all, do you know about the website called RunPee? RUNPEE. It is. It's a site where you can go. And they will tell you where to go to the bathroom without missing your clock.
I got to add that to favorites, definitely.
And if you thought you said you're 40 years old,
I'm 46 next month.
Okay, well, wait 30 years. So imagine my situation. So I already had all the moments. I was sitting with my friends, and the moment where the RunPee told me to go, which was in the middle of the movie, I said,
Klaus?
They said, listen for the quote, and then I said the word, and I got up and I ran and went and pee. That way I was able to see the whole thing. But be that as it may, as a person who is now, action, I've been doing the action film autopsy for years now as a podcast and as now a show on that Phat Samurai Guy's channel. We're doing another one. We're doing it on the 31st, right, for January?
Yes, sir.
So we're going to do another one for there. I love action movies, and I knew I was in the right place because everybody involved in this movie clearly loved action movies. This is a labor of action movie love. That's what this is. However, it's not a flaw. I had to admit the only way I could enjoy this was to admit that it was a action musical comedy fantasy. It's not an action drama. It is not an action. It's not a fight film. It is a fight film, but it's a musical fight film. I mean, I love musicals. And when I go to a musical, I need to suspend my disbelief the same way I needed to suspend it here. Because this had nothing to do with any sort of identifiable reality. There are no cops in this world. There's no blood in this world. People take abuse that even video game characters would go, come on. So it had to be, but again, when I see a musical and they start to sing and dance, I don't go, hey, what's going on? So it's the same thing here. When these were little music videos, long music videos, and they were beautifully choreographed, and everybody did a great job. Including Keanu. Keanu threw himself into this. And by the way, I wanted to say to all of you, you should check your temperatures when you finish this, because you all seem to have the versus virus. And the versus virus is, if I had a nickel for every time Phat ever said, oh, everybody will disagree with me about this, I could all bring you out to McDonald's and we can have whatever we want. Because all of you were saying that, oh, I'm going to say something and I know that people won't like. No, you got the virus. You got the virus. You got the versus virus.
Versus virus.
So, these are not fight scenes. These are dance scenes. And as dance scenes, it's magnificent. I mean, I was in fight scene heaven, except we got to a point, basically the third time that Keanu was thrown down the stairs, I sort of went, all right, I know you're all getting tired. I would not be surprised if you shot this in sequence, because it's the same thing from the last movie when the two guys from the raid showed up and Keanu and John Wick wins against them. I would love to know how many times they took the shot of the raid characters reacting to losing to him, because they could never get them to believably, there's a shot of these guys after Wick defeats them and they're like, no, and they couldn't get them not to do that. Just do a freeze frame of their faces. And that's the way I was being felt by the third time. But thankfully, when he finally dies at the end, I went, okay, it is what I thought it was. It's the 7 circles of hell. And now, by the way, because I got all my inside guys talking, the reason that if John Wick comes back, it's not because of Keanu. It's because of Lionsgate. John Wick, Keanu and the guys designed this to give Keanu a break. Because you can see from the finale that the next movie was going to be about the blind swordsman. It was all going to be, and Keanu would have, had been in flashbacks or whatever, or there would have been, whatever. But Keanu would have not been in it. And then also with the Continental and with Ballerina, it allowed Keanu to do other things. Because Keanu is an incredibly creative, smart guy. So we'll see if John Wick comes back.
Okay.
Not. It'll be up to Keanu, not up to Lionsgate. Lionsgate wants them to come back, but that's because they're being cheap ass about it. So anyway, so that's the situation. Now I want to hear your votes, and I want to hear how much of the virus comes out now.
All right,
everybody will disagree with me. They'll be shocked by this decision. There's no way to be shocked by this decision. Both of these movies are great. That's the one bad thing about this versus. Whichever wins, you're right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're completely different movies, but they're the best of their type.
Yes. All right. Well, before we vote, we have some special guest voters. That's right. We have to get that going. Let me remove this banner here. And up first, all right, there he is. He's probably still watching right now. Shout out to DJ Anubis. Let's hear what he has to say.
What up, everyone? DJ Anubis here with you from the Metal Time Radio podcast. Sorry I cannot be with you tonight. Still getting over COVID that we got last week. So I've been having this annoying cough that comes up. So if it ends up happening here, I apologize. But I didn't want to go into our live thing tonight coughing and hacking up and shit. So didn't want to be a distraction. So I'm going to try to get through this as quick as I can. For my pick for Versus, I'm going to miss out on it. But just did want to give my pick to Samurai and the rest of you. So first things first, John Wick 4. I love the John Wick series. Great cast in John Wick 4. Certainly, I think it gets a little bit more praise than it should, mainly because of the cast. You added Donnie Yen and Haruka Sanada in there. So, it's cool to see these guys interacting more in these films. Then, of course, the other movie, The Raid 2. Iko Uwais, Yayan Ryan, Sisep Arif Rahman. 2 of those guys also appeared in John Wick 3, coincidentally. There's just a lot about both of these movies I do like, but I tend to like the first 3 John Wick films far more than the 4th one. I know, blasphemy. But I'll say this. I wish there was a lot more of Sonata's character involved in John Wick 4. I felt like he went out too quickly. But as far as the plots and the stories, and it's also the choreography as well, there's some things about John Wick 4 that I didn't really like too much in terms of body armor. So it's kind of weird because now I feel like John Wick is starting to go into Fast and Furious territory where things are just getting a little bit crazy and stupid. So also when you get to the 2-hour mark, there's this overlong bloated fight scene inside, I think it's Italy or Rome. and it's towards the end of the film. And so, like, if they would cut out like about 30 minutes of that, it'd probably be better. There's just too much of it. By the time I'm up to about 10 minutes, I'm like tuned out until they get to the stairway and stuff like that. So some things about John Wick 4 I just didn't care for as much as some of the other films in the series. Whereas with Raid 2, just as much as I liked Raid Redemption, Raid 2 is very strong in story presented, masterful stunt work. Two of my favorite characters, the Batman and Hammer Time Girl, very cool characters, great fight scenes, and my pick is the Raid 2. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll be watching you all tonight. Peace.
All right. Thank you, Anubis, for that. Next up, we have filmmaker, director, he knows his action from Keep Forward Productions, Matt Merritt. Let's do it.
Hey, Movie Dojo Army. Matt from Keep Forward Productions. Hope everyone's doing well. So Raid 2 versus John Wick 4. The first question I asked myself when I left John Wick 4 was, is it better than the Raid 2? And the answer is Raid 2 is the best action movie of all time, in my opinion. John Wick 4, probably the best American choreography. The first action scene could be a final in any movie. Probably be better than a lot of movies, actually. But the Raid 2, I feel like the action has more diversity. All the characters stand out. And, I love the sound design. I love the brutality. That prison fight, it gets bigger and better. So my pick is the Raid 2. I love John Wick 4, but I felt like after that first action scene, everyone was like tired, and it's a lot of repetition, a lot of throws. So yeah, Raid 2.
All right. Raid 2 is winning so far. Next up, filmmaker, writer, martial artist stuntman himself, Kyle.
Hey, Movie Dojo Army. Good to see you guys and all my Versus brothers. Good to see you and love you all. Sorry I couldn't be there. So when it comes to John Wick 4 or the Raid 2, boy, to keep it very simple, I honestly, John Wick should have only stayed as number 1, and John Wick 2 is basically like the Raid 2 with expanding the universe. And look what happened. And all I say is, my pick is the Raid 2, everybody. There's no words about it. It works on its own. Didn't need to go further than that. And yeah, that's my pick.
Kyle said, fuck the sequels. He said, fuck all the sequels. Copy that. A lot of people, John Wick, the first one, like Owen, is their favorite. All right, next up, you guys know him, the master remaster, the commentator,
the beast,
the beast. Yeah, the beast, Frank Jang.
Hello, Frank Jang here, the commentator beast, with my take on the Raid 2 versus John Wick 4. I really love John Wick 4. I think it's a great entertainment. 3 hours flash, went right by. Great cinematography, great action sequences, and Keanu Reeves, kick ass. With that said, I do feel that I don't get the invulnerability of John Wick, the character, until pretty much later in the film. By the time he got to the stairs. Whereas in the Raid 2, I think the first hour of the film was kind of slow with little action, but then once the action gets started and then with the car crash, it was like pretty much a non-stop 45 minutes of mayhem. With that car chase, car crash, and then follow with the Hammer Girl, the baseball bat boy, and of course that great fight in the wine cellar kitchen. And I really like the fact that we get this idea, or we get this feeling that the main character in the Raid 2 can be killed at any moment, because his opponents are so strong. Whereas I don't get that feeling from John Wick. It's like nothing can stop John Wick until maybe the very end. And also the Raid 2, I think, has a better editing for the fight scene, better action choreography, great rhythm, great editing. And and it just kind of grows, especially in that last final fight in the wine cellar. It just gets more and more brutal as it goes on. So for this versus episode, my vote goes to The Raid 2. Until next time, take care.
Oh, he
It's
had,
There's a pattern here.
It's a slaughter. So far, it's a slaughter.
he filmed that after his surgery. That's dedication.
Oh, well, thank you, Frank.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
You saw him.
He's a-
You could
he's a
see him
legend.
holding his bandage.
Oh, I thought he had like a mic here or something. Oh,
No.
Well, shout out to Frank. He's a legend. And speaking of legends, next up we have filmmaker, writer, martial artist, stuntman. He's done it all. Make sure you guys check out his amazing documentary about Bruce Lee's The Big Boss. It's fantastic. But Matt Rutledge, who couldn't be with us here tonight, he'll be on the next one. But let's hear what did Matt pick?
Hi, my name's Matt Rutledge. Greetings from the UK. Wow, what a challenge I've got here to pick between two amazing martial arts action films. Both very different budget levels. Obviously, John Wick being the higher of the two in terms of budget, but both equally as important in terms of martial arts cinema. The Raid 2, some just incredible action scenes, particularly the scene in the car where the camera's passed from car to car. I mean, there's just incredible ingenuity and such a great idea. And then obviously on the flip side, you've got John Wick 4, which has some amazing one-take action sequences, particularly the Dragon's Breath shotgun scene, which for me was absolutely incredible scene, a great idea. Just by a hair width, I'd say I'd go with John Wick 4. But to be honest, for me, they're very, very even in their own right. Great action movies in their own right. Both directors did absolutely amazing jobs with both movies. So congrats, guys.
Holy shit! We got a win. We got one. We got one.
I smell a comeback, baby. Here we go.
We got one. We got a comeback. Oh my
We'll
goodness!
see.
All right, now
Our
let's
turn
go ahead.
now.
Yes, let us start with the fanatical one. Who are you picking? No, wait, before you vote, this is for the new people watching and the new people that are here. You can vote for whatever reason, even if it's ridiculous. You could be a critic about it. Or you could just be biased, or you could just love fashion and you just pick John Wick 4 because you love the suits. It could be any reason. All reasons, even if they're ridiculous, are welcome here. So just remember that. All right. You don't have to be a critic about it. If you love it, you love the movie. If you're biased,
You don't have to be right.
You don't have to be right. All right.
Even though it will be.
Fanatical. Who you got?
Love them both. Has to be the Raid 2.
All right. Where are we at right now in scoring, Eric?
5-1.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Rick's doing it too.
Yeah. Okay, I'm also taking score.
Keep each other
5-1.
honest.
5-1 so far for the Raid 2. Billy.
By a hair, John Wick 4.
Oh shit! We got another one.
Yeah.
Don't be too biased,
Was
Phat.
Eric?
Come on, man.
Was Eric right? Did we smell a comeback? Owen.
No, you do not, because I say I say the Raid 2. I just prefer that there's just the extra sense of threat to the violence and more tension to it, and it doesn't have that sort of video game feel to it. So, but beautiful film, John Wick 4, and a fitting finale. Please don't make John Wick 5. The Raid 2.
Just make it about Donnie.
Yeah, that's
there you
fine.
go. Yeah, well said. Alex.
I feel like these are two of the greatest action films in recent memory. And I can't talk shit about either films because if you've seen my movie, these are the two franchises I borrowed the most from. It's very obvious.
We love them both, but it has to be a winner.
Well, the thing is, the Raid 2 did as much, if not more, with a way smaller budget. And if you took away all the action scenes, I'm more invested in that story. You know, the undercover story is always a very good and reliable one, whereas John Wick is he's just needs to kill everybody. And even though I love the excess of the John Wick, action, the Raid 2 hits that perfect balance. So as much as I love John Wick 4, it only loses because the Raid 2 is next to it. So that's my vote.
Yeah.
All right. Eric?
Yeah, the Raid 2 is just the better overall film, so I'm voting for the Raid 2.
Did you change your vote at the last minute, Eric?
No. I was trying to play up the hype.
Well done.
Yeah.
Rick.
My turn. Well, it's between a work of art and a labor of love. And given that it's cinematic, I'm going to go with the work of art. I'm also doing Raid 2.
All right. Well said. Well said. We got chat here. It goes, no, ain't no comeback. Raid 2 gets his vote. The Raid 2 by 88 miles. I go with Raid 2. There we go. I enjoyed the scenes from John Wick 4. Well, I had an inkling. I knew it was going to be a slaughter. But still, I love John Wick 4, and it's still my favorite as of right now in the franchise. But hey, what did I say earlier? You guys should. This was a clue. This was a little clue Easter egg of my vote. What did I say earlier? I love when they get the hooks and they rip it to the skin and rip it off. Violence scratches the itch, baby. So come on, you know Samurai Guy was voting Raid 2, baby. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Very well done. Hey, this episode, what? Scratch the action itch, baby. Oh yeah, this was a blast. Hey, Rick, we didn't go over 2 hours. I'm stunned. Usually we're like 2 hours or over versus episodes. Wow, short and sweet. But this was an absolute blast. I love all of you guys watching right now. Hey, y'all know what you need to do. Check everybody's info in the description box below of this video. Follow all of these badasses right here and one smartass. Follow all of them. That's right. Billy, thank you so much for being here. Bone Cold. Yes, and make sure you guys check out our Yin Yang series. Yeah, we review 2 films that are complete opposite. We have a lot of fun with those. Check that out. Fanatical One, what do you got coming up on your channel soon, son?
More of the same, more reviews, more unboxings, hopefully some more interviews. We might even be able to entice Rick to come in and chat round my way at some point if he's willing.
There you go.
Kind of cool.
Yeah.
Anytime, just say the word. I'm here.
And make sure you guys check out Johnny's interview with Mark Dacascos himself. Yes. I'm jealous. And
Kenji Tanigaki as well. More people need to watch that. That's a great interview. I'm so stoked he sat down with me.
Check it out. I'm still trying to get these guys. But Owen, Action Elite, baby. What we got coming up?
Well, next Wednesday we're doing a live stream, and this should be a fun one. And it is Does Die Another Day Deserve the Hate? And it's our first ever James Bond themed one, and this should be a lot of fun.
Oh, I got to see that one. That's a blast. That's a blast.
Is it
Alex?
spoiler? Yes.
Hey, at least he doesn't die in the end.
We got a defender here. Make sure you guys check out that episode on Action Elite. Alex, you're torturing me. I've been seeing some teases for director's cuts of the contracts. What's going on with that?
Can't say too much about it, but it's more of like a Sylvester Stallone style director's cut where it's actually shorter, not longer.
Okay.
But I am working on my next features. That's right, features plural.
Yeah.
Expect more action and expect horror as well.
Woo! That's right. That's what this channel here is all about, action and horror. And Eric, you are on fire with the movie reviews, my friend. What's coming up soon?
Yeah, I just recently put up a review of a completely stupid Korean thriller that was also oddly entertaining because of how stupid it was, called Devils, I believe. So, yeah, but I'm going to mix in more Asian horror stuff again and Blu-ray collection videos.
Copy that. Oh, I see The Game in the back there. I see Bad City. Oh, yeah. Eric knows his shit. That's why he's always here on the channel. That's right. And Samurai Guy, well, tomorrow I have a special director. So I'm going to be interviewing for Michael Jai White's most recent film. So make sure you guys hang out with me tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific time. But earlier, I forgot to mention this earlier, when Alex was talking about oneers, and he was talking about one take in, movies and stuff like that, and how it could get gimmicky and get out of hand. Well, join me Monday, because I'm not holding back. I am going to destroy this movie Monday night. Oh, I put it this way. First half, this is fucking amazing. Second half, fuck this movie. So if you guys want to know what this is, and I did not want to hate this movie. I couldn't wait. I did a trailer reaction to this. I was like, oh shit, this is right up my alley. I love this. I support the people that are in this movie. And me and my buddy Matt Merritt, we watched it together, and we were like, what the fuck just happened? If you want to find out what that is, this coming Monday. You will see it scheduled, and I will have special guests with me as well. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for the next episode of Versus. Subscribe. Get this channel to 30K, baby. Let's do it. We're almost there. And keep watching movies. Keep supporting the action and martial arts genre. And we'll see all you beautiful movie-loving badasses on the next one. Take care, guys.